Those of you who know me know that I am a collector. I collect things. Be those things video games, Japanese comic books, anime, amiibo, you name it. But every collection starts somewhere, and while I'll always remember these pieces fondly as the discs that kick-started my collection, I'll also always remember this little gem right here. This bizarre anime is called Alien 9, and contrary to the title, it was the third anime I added to my collection. Now, most of you out there are probably going to be asking the same questions right about now. Those questions being, well, what the crap is this show? They made that many movies about this stuff, and those are all completely normal questions to ask, given that to this day I've never met another person that has ever even heard of this show, much less someone who owns the DVD set. The title of this video is What Exactly Made Alien 9 Stand Out, but to be honest with you, a more accurate title would be What Exactly Made Alien 9 Stand Out to Me? Because, as you probably already guessed, nobody else seems to know what the heck this is. Well, wonder about it no more, because today we'll be discussing the overlooked, if not gem, then thing, that is Alien 9. I'm Octo, and this is my corner. Like most young budding anime fans, I often wondered what to watch next, and for some reason, I thought the more obscure anime I had knowledge of, the higher up I'd be in the anime fan pecking order, or whatever it is. This is false, by the way. All it really means is that nobody ever knows what I'm talking about, and I live in a never-ending state of loneliness and isolation since the anime I watch have virtually no fan base. But hey, you win some and you lose some. Anyway, I was on some site that just gives you a random anime to watch via roulette a long time ago, and when I hit the Give Me a Random Anime button, lo and behold, this showed up. I've never heard of it before, but I'd never heard of a lot of things at the time, so I figured that was par for the course. I looked it up on Amazon and found the DVD for $3. Whoa! That price went up a bit. Well, anyway, it was $3 at the time, and, 2-day shipping with Prime, so I figured what the heck, and made the purchase. Now, what I didn't know was that $3 wasn't exactly a steal, since there were only 4 episodes in the entire show, so what made it stand out? Well, nothing, really, at least not at first, but all of that changed the moment I put the disc in. That's when this happened. Wait, hold up, emotion? Like Bondi emotion? The same emotion that produced Gundam and Grave of the Fireflies? Yep, Bondi Emotion put this together. That's a great sign right off the bat. Also, I do want to point out that seeing and hearing this logo again while making this video was a total nostalgia blast, and I would love to talk more about these wonderful heads and what they're capable of, but that's another video for another day. Now that we finally got ourselves out of the play menu, I think it's time we discuss, the actual show. Now, the first thing you'll note about Alien 9, aside from the fact that it has a dub somehow, is that it is very, very strange. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The first episode starts with a classroom, introducing us to the art style and general atmosphere of the show, which I would describe as forgettable. Looking at these backgrounds and characters, none of them really seem to stand out in any way, so that would explain how the few that did see it would have forgotten about it. These characters are labeled as being in the 6th grade, which is pretty weird, but the characters look the part anyway. We open with some sort of vote taking place, in which Miss Otani has an overwhelming amount of support for something, despite the fact that it seems like she isn't very happy about it.
Otani?
What?
Otani gets voted into what is labeled in translation as the Alien Party, but before you get any ideas about a xenomorph in a party hat, allow me to inform you that this is more a party in the vein of the National Socialist German Workers' Party than the happy birthday kind. That's all fine though, because even though Otani seemingly didn't want to volunteer to be in this party, or didn't seem to volunteer at all for that matter, she was voted in anyway, because I guess none of the students could tell that she had no interest in being involved, despite the fact that it's completely obvious that she has no interest in being involved. Or maybe they did, and the children here are just a-holes, which I'd believe, considering the fact that the other children seem to have nothing better to do than to just make us feel bad for Otani for the entire show. Every time she does anything at all, these kids seem to have something completely uncalled for to strike her down with verbally.
No chance.
But I haven't even asked you yet. You're getting more depressed all the time.
Don't I know it, sister. Around this point that the story tries to start explaining itself a little bit, and that is where we start to get into some really strange territory, starting with the dumbest explanation for a title I've ever heard in my life.
From today onward for the next year, you will be alien fighters here at the number 9 elementary school.
So, to simplify things as much as possible, and to try my best to explain what's happening, in light of the fact that the show doesn't really seem to want to try and explain those to me itself, here we go. This girl is Otani. She hates aliens, which I guess makes her some kind of outcast and space racist, given that nobody else seems to think that these disgusting creatures that keep showing up and trying to kill the students are even the least bit scary. She gets voted into the Alien Party, which is a group of students whose job it is to defeat the monsters that show up at the school, which apparently happens all the time, something I can infer from this dialogue here.
You can't blame me. You can skip cleaning duties, and you don't have to do homework. And you can miss classes when there's alien trouble, right?
That's all well and good, but in order to fight the aliens, though, the girls have to be fast, which obviously means wearing roller skates at all times, as well as these helmets, which are technically parasitic aliens that can not only talk, but also survive by doing, well, whatever this is. Yep. At this point, I'd like to admit the costumes used for fighting the aliens in the show are pretty unique, and to be honest, they're the most memorable thing about the visuals in the show as a whole. The alien fights themselves are confusing at best, though, because despite what you might think, killing aliens that are trying to kill the children is wrong, apparently. Even in self-defense, it seems. As we learn later, this is because the teacher herself is the one scheduling and planning the alien attacks for the purposes of research? I don't know, it's really difficult to tell what's going on here. The other girls in the alien party are Kasumi, a girl who actually wanted to be an alien fighter somehow, and who also not only says "nya" all the time, something that is exactly as annoying as it sounds like it would be, but also just generally does and says very unnerving things at random times, such as this.
I was thinking of my big brother. He likes this scent.
Then there's Kumi, who is hyper-responsible and the closest thing to a friend poor Otani has, and try as she might to cheer up Otani, our friend the Borg, these things are called Borgs by the way, can't do a thing to help because she hates him too. And on the one hand, it's difficult to empathize with any of these characters because even though Otani is actually literally in extreme amounts of danger, the way she talks about it all the time in the show makes it seem like it's just a chore that she dislikes doing, and not something that is so traumatic and painful for her that it causes her to have fits of anxiety, stress-induced fever dreams and nightmares, and makes her actually dread going to school in the morning. Like, yeah, what the school's doing to these kids seems illegal, but the only person who seems to have any problem with that talks about it like this.
Anymore. I want to quit school.
And following that, we learn that the newest batch of aliens are possessing little boys so that they can try to murder Otani exclusively for some reason. Why are they doing this? I have no idea. Otani has no idea. Nobody has any idea. But everybody does seem to have an idea about one thing. They're sick of Otani's whining. Am I right, boys?
Pull yourself together! Listen to you. Why me? Why me? You're always hiding behind other people.
And then for some reason, at a bar, the teacher does this. Ooh. Okay, so is the teacher an alien? What's going on here? What is this story? Alright, so we could talk all day about the convoluted mess of jumbled information bits that make up the show's plot. Plot is in air quotes, by the way, but I don't really think the plot is what makes the show interesting. Although it's definitely interesting, for lack of a better term. No, instead, to wrap around back to the thesis question, which I'm sure most of you thought I'd forgotten about by now, what about this stands out in any way? Well, let's stop for a second and examine some things about the situation. Here we have a person that wants nothing to do with the situation she's been placed in. She feels harassed by those around her and doesn't really feel like she can talk to anyone around her because nobody seems to care about her problems. And she wonders each day if she'll be able to make it through the next one, especially when her situation feels so inescapable and grim, at least in her own mental image of it. Things keep happening around her and she feels as though she's being hunted down and singled out by the universe itself. Despite the way I worded that statement, it's a feeling that is relatable to a lot of people. When we're in elementary school, figuring out how to respond to things we've never experienced before is still a mental process that's, well, a work in progress. The way the show uses its unique setting to recreate the feeling of being placed under circumstances that are emotionally strenuous is a fascinating concept, despite Alien 9's many failures in execution of that point. I said this before, but the show is also short, 4 episodes in total, which, while much too short to explain a plot that is much more complicated than the cover of the case would allude to, it's the perfect amount of time to remind me of the times when I felt hopeless or picked on. It's the kind of thing that you'd put on when you get dumped, or when your pet dies and you just want to sit and feel sad for a while, as bizarre as that sounds, especially considering the amount of ridiculous that is the official English dub.
So you're Kasumi's teacher. I don't believe in putting too many restrictions on my children. I've trusted their judgment and allowed them to do about anything they want. However, and this is the key, I won't allow them to do things half-heartedly, get it?
Sure.
Side note on the dub, by the way, Ash Ketchum makes a guest appearance.
Yeah, we got it.
So cool.
We gotta catch them all.
My purpose in saying all of this is to bring attention to this long-forgotten little show. A show which does things its own way, however unconventional or strange that way may be. I'd never recommend it as highbrow entertainment or anything, but it feels like the kind of experience a person would be able to form a discussion around. There are questions that need answering here, and speculation on that is something I feel more people should talk about. For example, why is the teacher so hell-bent on making the girls fight aliens in the first place? Where is any of this coming from? How long has the world been like this? Why is there a random person talking over the top of the end credits? It's really annoying. Cut it out. Is any of this actually real, or is it all a metaphor for the troubles that come from a youth filled with people putting you in situations you don't want to be in? Is any of my perceived meaning in Alien 9 intentional on the part of the creators of the anime or the original mangaka? I kid. In all honesty, it's not all that difficult to see why people don't talk about Alien 9, because, to be completely transparent about it, it isn't the kind of thing that's conducive to internet discourse on a large scale. Simply put, Alien 9 is what it is. It seems to exist in its own special world, where nothing has to make sense to the audience, because, despite the strangeness of it all, it makes enough sense to the characters in question that it's clear from the get-go that something else is being examined here. Not a plot, but a feeling. Something about aliens, something about roller skating, something about changing over time to fit in with a different crowd, even among the fear that you may never be able to be the person you once were again. Something about the short runtime, something about the way the 6th graders sound like adults. Well, something about this show is special to me, for reasons I can't quite fully put into words, because despite the flaws and oddities of Alien 9, and the humans and aliens that have a bizarre coexistence, and the way the psychology and state of mind of the characters is repeatedly and unnervingly called into question, especially towards the end, I still have a place on my shelf for Alien 9. Something about it stands out to me, and the one other person I'm sure is out there who bought this. Shout out to you, by the way. If what I've said at the end here seems contradictory to you, that's because it is. Alien 9 is in itself partially a contradiction, an exploration of despair, acceptance, and a fascination with obsession. And the best episode is the last one, so stick with it till the end. I encourage those of you who aren't appalled at my lack of writing ability and my poor video making skills, and even those who are, to watch this enigma of a show, and then decide the answer to the question I posed at the beginning. What exactly makes Alien 9 stand out? What about this show is different from everything else? And moreover, is it even good? In this rare case, I leave those answers up to you, because this kind of madness can only truly be experienced by watching the show yourself.